And Happy New Year. Welcome to the Owasso Chamber Legislative Series Luncheon. My name is Dr. Leslie Clark, and I'm the Owasso Campus Director for Tulsa Tech. I'm also the 2024 Chair of the Owasso Chamber of Commerce. And to begin today's program, will you please stand as Joel Pepin, Superintendent of Rejoice Christian School, leads us in our invocation, and please remain standing as we proceed with our pledge of allegiance.
All right, let's pray. Dear Lord, thank you for this day. Lord, thank you for your faithfulness, God, and just bringing us together today. And just thank you for Tulsa Tech for putting this on. Lord, I just thank you for our Lieutenant Governor, Matt Pinnell, and Lord, for coming today. And your word, as it says, that we're to submit to our governing leaders and to show them honor. And so we show them honor today. And thank you for the calling that you have placed on his life to serve our state. And we just honor and thank him for coming today and for sharing the great things that are happening, but also to some of maybe the challenges our state is facing. But more importantly, God, I just thank you that Matt fears you and honors you. And I thank you that we just continue to look to your Holy Spirit in wisdom and direction. And I thank you, Lord, that you bless our time together and that you bless us food our bodies. It's your name we pray. Amen. Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We would like to recognize our sponsors for the legislative series. The executive sponsor, Ascension St. John. Co-sponsor, Tulsa Tech. Dignitary sponsors, AT&T, American Airlines, Oklahoma Natural Gas Company, and Public Service Company of Oklahoma. Liaison sponsors, Verdigris Valley Electric Company, and Co. And table sponsors, Bailey Medical Center, Cox Communications, Classic Chevrolet. Please give all of our sponsors a warm round of applause. We also extend an appreciation to our Chamber ambassadors who serve as greeters today, the Tulsa Tech staff, including Sharon Kelly, Gary Mars, and Jody Marler. Please give a round of applause for our volunteers and the Tulsa Tech staff who work so hard to make this venue and the event the best it can be for you and all of our special guests. We are pleased to have several elected officials with us. So if you were an elected official, would you please stand to be recognized? And let's all put them. Now would you please welcome Owasso Chamber President and CEO Chelsea Ferry to the podium to make some announcements.
Good afternoon and Happy New Year to everyone. We have a very busy chamber year ahead. It has come out of 2023 into 2024 with a bang, and we are very excited about some of the programs that we're continuing and the ones that we're introducing in this next year to get you all to be more engaged in your community and to get more value and investment out of your chamber and from Owasso. We don't want to bombard you with emails, which we feel like we do right now. If you're a chamber member, you know you get a lot of event emails from us. So one of the things that we're changing this year is we're going to be sending out an email weekly that has the events for the next 30 days. So once a week, you'll get an email, and in it we'll have all of the events or programs or meetings that are coming up in the next 30 days and a link for you to be able to register for each of those so that you're not getting so many emails that it gets confusing as far as, is this a lunch, is it a breakfast, do I pay for this one, do I not? It should be all in one place, and that hopefully will make it a little bit easier on you. We know that it's going to make it easier on us and our staff as well. This will begin in February, so we're still kind of putting it together as far as the look and appearance of it. So look for those to start going, to start hitting your email box the first week of February. Also, we have a monthly newsletter that hits your inbox on the last Friday of the month. That newsletter is going to continue to go out. It is organized a little differently. If you saw it when it went out on the last Friday of December, it had kind of everything organized together, where you had events, you had programs, you had meetings, and you had ribbon cuttings. And then, of course, we announced all of our new members and our renewing members as well. But it is organized a little bit better, so hopefully you get more value out of that publication as well. I want to thank you all again who have sponsored our event today. We have some great chamber sponsors. They are the ones that keep our programs going. It helps to offset a lot of the costs that we try of our members, so that we can make sure we keep our costs lower for you to be able to enjoy these programs and events. And I also, before I introduce the person who's introducing the man of the hour, I want to thank our chamber staff. We have all new chamber staff right now. We love them. It's Sandy House is our office manager, and Shauna Gilbert is our events and marketing manager. These ladies have hit the ground running after the holidays, and so I would love it if you would show them some gratitude and appreciation. Now please welcome Mark Clay, the President and CEO of Ascension St. John Hospital in Owasso, to introduce our guest of honor.
Matt Pinnell was elected the 17th Lieutenant Governor of Oklahoma on November 6, 2018. Pinnell was the President of the Oklahoma State Senate and serves on multiple constitutional boards and commissions. He is also the Secretary of Workforce and Economic Development for Governor Hempstead's capital. Pinnell is the Chief Marketer of Oklahoma, spends much of his time promoting tourism, Oklahoma's third largest industry. In partnership with the Oklahoma Tourism and Recreation Department, we launched the Oklahoma Fishing Trail, the Oklahoma Road Trip, and the pandemic-driven OK, Here We Go campaigns, which generated more than $91 million in revenue since 2019. Pinnell is recruiting companies looking to move and expand in Oklahoma. Each year, he hosts the Lieutenant Governor's annual Turkey Hunt, a 2-week event that showcases Oklahoma to prospective out-of-state companies. He launched a statewide rebrand in 2020, a campaign that has streamlined state agency processes and saved taxpayer dollars. As an entrepreneur himself, Pinnell champions small business in Oklahoma. He serves on the Oklahoma Department of Commerce Committee and is focused on small business growth and entrepreneurship and workplace development. In 2020, he launched a look at Oklahoma Career Tech video series that showcases education and employment opportunities that the state's career tech system offers. Matt has an advertising degree from Oral Roberts University. He lives in Tulsa with his wife for 20 years. Welcome, Matt.
Thank you. How's Owasso, America? Listen, I gotta say this, because I just said this at the table, and they agreed. Round of applause for this food right now. This is some of the best food. Food expert. I just go to rubber chicken dinner, to rubber chicken lunch, to rubber chicken breakfast. I've had rubber chicken at breakfast, yes. This was legit. This was like very good food. So again, kudos to the team, to Tulsa Tech. I wanted to make sure I said that because really good. So thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Food matters to me. I never stop moving, so I have to continue to eat. Listen, it's wonderful to be here in Owasso. The governor is out of state, so you know what that means. Governor Pinnell today. Okay? If you need a proclamation, birthday proclamation, whatever you need, I can sign it, Governor Pinnell, on the stage left. That's my ongoing joke, because a lot of times he leaves the state, and when he does, yes, that is an official duty the Lieutenant Governor steps in. But I'm going to talk to you today about what I'm in charge of as your Lieutenant Governor, and yes, today as acting Governor. And have some things that we can be excited about, and certainly some things that we need to continue to address as a state. And I know we had a lot of elected officials stand up, but certainly I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't give some extra props to Representative Mark LePack. He's not standing yet, but if he stands, big Mark LePack, please stand up. All of 6 foot 9 Mark LePack. I adore his family, his wife. I've known them for decades. Yes, it's been over a decade. And does a great job for you all on the State House side. Allie Seifert is also in the House on the State Senate side. I'm always proud to introduce Allie because I pronounce her last name right. It is Seifert, and I'm really good at pronouncing the last name, Seifert. I didn't do a good job pronouncing that last name to start with. But Allie and I spent a lot of time together. She is actively involved in the economic development space on a number of committees and hosted an interim study on one of the most important, I could argue maybe the most important issue in the state of Oklahoma when it comes to retaining and recruiting teachers into workforce. Can I get an amen? Allie ran that interim study. So Allie now has all the answers, right now. Senator has all the answers when it comes to making sure that we can retain and recruit more teachers into the pipeline. I'll speak to that a little bit because my new role as your Secretary of Workforce and Economic Development is a new development with the Lieutenant Governor's office. I've delivered speeches here a number of times in Owasso and delivered those speeches as your Lieutenant Governor, yes, but also as your Secretary of Tourism and Branding. I'm still actively involved on the tourism side of things and branding as well. But I saw a need inside the state when it came to workforce and economic development, doing a better job of closing deals, mega companies that are looking at the state, but really more important than that, helping existing businesses inside the state of Oklahoma. They've already chosen to be Oklahomans. They're Oklahomans by choice. Probably a lot of people in this room are small business owners, like my wife is, who have chosen to start a business here, hire folks here. And there wasn't a conversation that I would have, truly, not a conversation that I would have, where the conversation would not revolve back to workforce-related issues. And yes, some of that is, again, education, affordable housing, child care services, all of that. And because of that, I went to the governor when I got reelected into this second term. I said, Governor, served 4 years on your cabinet as Secretary of Tourism. Would really be honored to serve as the new Secretary of Workforce and Economic Development to really tackle these issues over the next 4 years, for the last 4 years that I have left as your Lieutenant Governor, to be able to hand this baton off to somebody else to really continue. We cannot stop talking about workforce-related issues and the future workforce and the jobs of the future when it comes to this AI world that we now live in. It is changing so rapidly. And states that stay in front of that, states that are aggressively thinking about workforce are going to beat other cities and other states to the workforce of the future. And that means our homegrown boys and girls that we're raising in this state, giving them every opportunity to stay right here in our backyard, or at least staying inside one of our 77 counties across the state of Oklahoma. And I'll tell you, you have a lot to brag about in Owasso. When I put my speech notes together, and I've traveled around the state of Oklahoma more than anybody else and deliver speeches, and there's a whole lot of notes of good things when we do research about what's happening in Owasso, America. One of the fastest growing cities in the state. You all have been one of the fastest growing cities in the state for over 10 years, and that continues. Since the last census, Owasso's population has grown 17.4%. I know that you were feeling that growth, some of that growth, some of certainly the schools that are full, and our businesses that are filling up as well, dropping that sales tax dollars, which we certainly love. You all are adding roughly 1,000 to 1,200 new residents every year here in Owasso, America. Average household income in Owasso is higher than the national average. The cost of living is lower than the national average. That right there, I mean, that sentence, if we could just advertise that right, the average household income in Owasso is higher than the national average, and the cost of living is lower than the national average. That's a really good thing to be bragging about right here in Owasso. And I talked about this at a meeting with some leadership here in Owasso before this lunch. The median age population in Owasso is 33.5. And everybody in this room is under the age of 33. I'm looking out. But think about that. The median age of the population is 30. I guarantee you every business owner in this country would love to be operating in a city that had a median average age, one of the youngest populations in the region, without a doubt. Family population is growing, which certainly is great for our retail industry and companies looking to relocate here. And I certainly have to talk about the education options that you have, certainly for Joyce. I went to school with Joel. I was a lot older than Joel, but we were there at the same time at the Oral Roberts University, one of the best universities in the country. And Owasso Public Schools continue, because it's a continuation of the excellence that Owasso Public School System has continued to lead the way on. Across the state, they're a national leader, and they deserve a round of applause as well. One of the largest, highest ranking school districts in the state. STEM is taught at all Owasso elementary and junior high schools, and junior high students certainly have a lot of opportunities when it comes to robotics and other opportunities that you have. And you have a great relationship, working partnership with your tech system. And I've been here at this campus, this tech campus, a number of times for events. I was here for a Choose Aerospace event, and Chase Beasley, who I know is here recently, right here on this stage. But when we're working together, when that education ecosystem is working together, I truly believe great things can happen. And it's going to take that whole system for us to be able to be in a better position to keep people inside the state of Oklahoma, and yes, hopefully have more people relocate to the state of Oklahoma. So that's Owasso. You're onto something, but we got to keep that ball rolling. We got to keep that momentum going. And certainly talking to your state reps and your state senators about what is going to be happening in this legislative session that is going to be affecting Owasso, America, is a really big deal. And all of those statistics that I just gave you, it's why I don't refer to Owasso as a bedroom community. You know, that's not a good definition of Owasso. Owasso is a thriving, growing, large community inside the state of Oklahoma City. It's not necessarily, we don't look at it as a bedroom community. Obviously what's happening in Tulsa is great for Owasso, no doubt about it. We got Tulsa Chamber here, Mike's in the back. Thank you, Mike, for your leadership with the Tulsa Chamber and your relationship when it comes to that regional footprint. They get that in Tulsa, that it is the rising tide lifts all boats. But Owasso certainly is standing on your own two legs now, and we want to come alongside and help you with that. But I talked about, again, how much Owasso is growing, which really leads to these net migration statistics that just came out, actually just last week. I talked a lot about the census. I talked a lot about data. I'm a data nerd. I follow data. I look at these census reports because your statewide elected officials and your state reps and state senators, they should be looking at these numbers as well. Because they tell us who's moving into the state of Oklahoma, who's leaving the state of Oklahoma. Why is someone moving to Oklahoma? Why is someone leaving Oklahoma? Is there something we should be changing at 2030 Lincoln based upon some of that data? And I have some great news certainly to share with you with the net migration data that we just got. Now that covers from July of 22 to July of 2023. There's a big census report that comes out every 10 years that kind of talks about how much we've grown and how much we haven't grown. And I've talked a lot about that 10-year census report over the last few years. But it's really interesting to see migration, the migration that is happening in the U.S. today. Because the migration to the middle of the country is real and it is happening, folks. Any realtor in this room will tell you. And yes, there we go. There's some hands in the back. Again, a 17% increase, again, in your population alone, right here in Owasso. The migration to the middle of the country is happening. I am competing as your Secretary of Workforce, as the Chief Sales and Marketing Director for the state. I'm competing as much with Bentonville, Arkansas today than I am as much as Dallas. I'm competing with Des Moines, Iowa, as much as I am Houston. I mean, it's the middle of the country, it's these states in the middle of the country that are now getting population growth from these other large cities that are full. Because that's what's happening. The migration from July of 22 to July of 23 has put us top 10 in the country. We talk a lot about being top 10 in this state. You may have heard that once or twice, listening to politicians in the state over the last few years. We're number 9 in the country in net migration growth between July of 22 and July of 23. Over 32,000 people net into the state of Oklahoma. Again, people coming in versus people leaving. A net of 32,000. We've attracted more people from Texas than Texas has attracted in Oklahomans. Think about that. It means more Texans have moved to Oklahoma than Oklahomans moving to Texas. When's the last time we've been able to say that? That has not been a trend over the last 10 to 15 years that we've been able to talk about. But that trend is happening now. Really, it started during the COVID years, and it hasn't stopped, folks. And all of my friends that I graduated with, most of them, right? They graduated, and they all went down to Dallas or Houston to get landman jobs. They loved it for a few years. They hate it today. I'm sure you've got friends and family in the Dallas Metroplex area. It's why we have created a Live in Oklahoma campaign that is targeting young families in the Dallas Metroplex area. Not just Oklahomans that move down there, but it is true that the largest alumni associations for OU and OSU are in Dallas. Imagine that. Most of the alumni, the largest alumni associations for OU and OSU are in the Dallas Metroplex area. But I'm telling you, if Owasso America does not take advantage of telling the story of how great Owasso is to those young families and those alumni, those OU and OSU alumni in the Dallas Metroplex area, then we're not doing it right. Because they are ready to come home, the conversations that I have. It's why we have put billboards up on the most packed highways in the Dallas Metroplex area that said if you lived in Oklahoma, you'd be home by now. Because it's true. I've been talking about putting these billboards up for a while. They are actually up. They're up. If you're friends with me on Facebook, you've seen these pictures that I've been posting. That matters. I mean, Texas politicians have been in Oklahoma for decades, stealing our teachers, stealing our businesses. We should be in Texas right now, talking to them about the quality of life that we have built in Oklahoma over the last 15 to 20 years that is completely different than the Oklahoma in the 1980s and 90s. You all know this if you've lived in Oklahoma. It's prime time. It's prime time for our state to be taking that message. We need to keep our homegrown boys and girls here. Yes, that's first priority. But we absolutely should have a boomerang campaign to go talk to those kids that we train up, we send them away, and tell them why it is time for them to come home. Because the quality of life is as good or better here. You can actually buy a house. You can actually have a yard. And the quality, the nightlife, and the professional sports teams are here just like they are in Texas now. If we don't have that conversation, then we're going to get that brain drain is going to continue to happen. And what I am telling you is the numbers don't lie. There are people showing up here now in Oklahoma because they're tired of living in an anti-business state. They just are. They were tired of the shutdown, so they left shutdown states during COVID, and they just haven't stopped. A lot of the growth that we are seeing is yes, right now, from baby boomers who aren't necessarily moving closer to a grandkid. But the stories that I hear from baby boomers is they're literally Googling affordable, friendly states. They want affordable, they want to be able to buy a home, they're selling their home in California with a big pile of money, and they want an affordable place to live and friendly people. And we should not discount that as a state. That is in our DNA. We're a little bit more humble than Texans, okay? I, as the chief marketer of the state, I got to brag about what we're doing well here. Because again, Oklahomans, and I love it. I love it about us. We are maybe a little bit more humble, but now is prime time to be telling the story. If we want more taxpayers, not more taxes. We do need the commute time to go from 15 minutes to 20 minutes. Sorry, I'll say it. Because that's what we need.
we have to have, again, a growing, thriving city and growing, thriving state, not just in Tulsa and Oklahoma City, for us to be the best, truly the best place to live, work, and raise a family. But you got to be able to, you got to have those taxpayers to be able to carry that message. So the Live in Oklahoma campaign is one of the efforts that I wanted to talk to you about. We launched this during the OU Texas football game this past year with a 60-second TV ad. You didn't see the TV ad, but the Dallas market saw the TV ad. And I got text messages from all my buddies. I just saw the TV ad trying to get me to move back up. Yes, that's exactly what I'm doing. And we will continue a very aggressive, targeted effort. I don't have money to advertise in 20 other states. And if the most fertile ground is one of the largest economies in the world that's less than 4 hours from here, then that's where we should be marketing. And by the way, the cranes in the air in Texas today aren't in Dallas. They're in Sherman, Texas. They're in Paris, Texas. You can see those cranes from Durant and Ardmore, Oklahoma, which those two towns are going to double in size over the next 10 years. You can put money on it right now. Because North Texas and Oklahoma are just growing into each other. And again, if we don't have that conversation as a state, if cities are not having that conversation, we just want to beat them in football, then we're not doing it right. I'll do this all day long, okay, don't get me wrong. But it has to be bigger than beating them in football games. There has to be partnerships between businesses here and businesses in the state of Texas. Because this growth is going to happen somewhere. And Des Moines, Iowa, and Bentonville, Arkansas are going to get these kids if we don't get them back to Owasso. Okay? So Live in Oklahoma campaign is in those net migration statistics. I believe they go together. And you're going to continue to see very good reports of migration statistics over the next 10 years. I truly believe it. Of more people moving back from the state of Texas into Oklahoma, and again, yes, other states. Because the top two states that net migration happened in was Texas and California. And no, I'm sorry, I can't interview people, every single Californian that moves to Oklahoma on the board, okay? Because every time I give this speech, I'll get somebody that comes up to me after, because they don't want to ask the question in front of everybody else, so I'll just say it. They say, well, gosh, you know, I like this growth, but we need all these Californians moving to Oklahoma. Okay, I'm sorry, I can't interview. But every single one, but the ones that I've talked to, again, they want to integrate into communities. They love Oklahoma. They want out of California for a host of reasons. And they're great, they become great Oklahomans, okay? So you don't have to ask me the question after the speech. I'm sorry I can't answer it. So let's talk about briefly industry. So again, you know this net migration to the middle of the country is real. I hope I've made a good pitch to you that, again, if we're not going after the people that are migrating, then we're losing. Okay, that goes to the marketing efforts that Owassos and every other community need to be doing. Well, where are they going to go work? Which companies are looking at Oklahoma? What industries do we believe over the next decade of growth here in Oklahoma is going to be strong? And I will continue to say that our oil and gas industry will continue to lead the way. They are the #1 industry in the state of Oklahoma. Thank God we have it. Okay? Thank God we still have an oil and gas industry in the state. Thank God we're still drilling holes in the ground. Because if we weren't, then Mark LePack and Allie Seifert would be hard-pressed to meet a budget that we have on a year-to-year basis. Unfortunately, again, we ride the roller coaster way too much inside the state since statehood. When oil and gas is booming, right, we got money in 23rd and Lincoln. When we're not drilling holes in the ground, we don't have a gross production tax, and it's harder to meet budgets. What I'm trying to do is get off the roller coaster. I want oil and gas 365, 24/7. We're still the Saudi Arabia of natural gas, thank God. And you're going to continue to see a lot of innovation when it comes to oil and gas and hydrogen, and yes, renewables. Because 40% of our power right now in the state of Oklahoma is off renewables. We are also the Saudi Arabia of wind. If you walk outside right now, you'll feel it. And we should take advantage, yes, of our natural resources in the state. And we got a lot of wind. You go to the Panhandle, you better have both hands on that steering wheel, right? And if you go out to the Panhandle, yes, you will see a lot of wind turbines, right? And we have a lot of companies investing in Oklahoma. Yes, a lot of that energy is leaving the state of Oklahoma. I get it. But you are going to continue to see an investment in renewables inside the state of Oklahoma. And I believe green hydrogen, blue hydrogen, into the future once it becomes feasible and governments aren't the only ones propping up a hydrogen industry. You'll continue to see that growth inside the state as well. Because the chambers will tell you this, the companies that are calling us right now, a lot of them are in that renewable space. Because we have wind, because we have a lot of land, they want to do business here. I mean, Pinnell, the largest deal in state history, right down the road, on the solar side of things, the largest deal in state history. And so you're going to continue to see a renewable green energy movement inside the state. But please hear me on this. That does not mean we're moving away from our oil and gas industry one bit, because we need it all. It's a full buffet. Oklahoma is a full buffet state when it comes to energy sources. Are we a new energy state? Absolutely. But we have got to continue to plant our flag on energy and the growth of energy. Because we have space, and it is a natural advantage that we have as a state. I would say of the 20 or 30 companies that I can't tell you about, unless you wanted to go sign an NDA right now, and then maybe I can talk to you about it after the lunch. 20 to 30 of I'd say the most aggressive deals that we're in the middle of right now. I'd say 10 of them are in the energy space, and the other 10 are in the other industry that I want to talk to you about, and that is aviation and aerospace. You all know this, if you track any of this. About 10 years ago, it was kind of the big announcement that aerospace had become the #2 industry in the state of Oklahoma. And it was a big deal. And a lot of Oklahomans didn't realize aerospace was that big of a deal. If you're in northeast Oklahoma, and you got the largest maintenance repair facility in the world in Tulsa, American Airlines, when you have, again, the aviation companies that we have that have been thriving in northeast Oklahoma for a while, then maybe you see it. If you live in a military town with one of these military bases that we have, you probably feel it and see it. But a lot of Oklahomans didn't realize how big of an industry this had become. We've really planted our flag over the last few years on aerospace and aviation growth. Thank God James Mountain Inhofe, and I believe that will be one of his greatest legacies, was preserving and protecting the military bases in the state of Oklahoma during Braddock shutdowns. Never forget that. Never forget that man for what he did for the state of Oklahoma for multiple decades of saving our military bases. But because he did, you got Boeing and Lockheed Martin and everybody else wanting federal contracts from those military bases. That's a big reason aerospace and aviation was thriving here for a while. We have a long history of aviation. But that's a really big reason over the last 20, 30 years, it continued to stay here, even in downturns in Oklahoma. Well, now we're really on something. Now with drone technology and space exploration, the amount of aerospace and aviation companies that are looking at Oklahoma today really leads the way when it comes to companies that I'm talking to on a weekly basis. The CEOs that want to talk to me about Oklahoma, the deals that we're bringing to the legislature. A lot of them are in that aerospace and aviation space, and that means your kids and your grandkids are going to have jobs that pay well over $100,000 a year working for a very big aviation aerospace company in the years ahead. So that's an industry. If you see me in front of a podium or the governor in front of a podium announcing a business expansion or moving to Oklahoma over the next few years, you can bet on it that it's half of them are probably going to be aviation, aerospace, and defense industry type of growth. Some of them won't get headlines, and they should. Expansions of existing businesses that we have around the Tulsa airport. Met with a company just last week that makes engines on a number of aircraft. They're adding a couple hundred jobs. Sometimes our papers don't even report those deals, which, yes, is frustrating to me at times. And we and Owasso and others, we do as good of a job as we can to say the existing businesses in Oklahoma that are expanding. But just know that that's really our bread and butter. That's really where we're focused on. The last piece when it comes to industry growth, and again, it's in the Tulsa area, is the federal recognition, recent federal recognition of our Tulsa Tech Hub. This is a really, really big deal. The federal dollars that are going to be able to come into the city of Tulsa, into Oklahoma because of that designation. And again, hear me on this. The next Paycom, the next Fortune 100 company could very well be the entrepreneur that moves to Tulsa to go through the Tulsa Innovation Lab because they are a designated tech hub, those are the companies of the future. Those are the companies that are going to be hiring hundreds, if not thousands, of Oklahomans 10 years from now. And it's going to be based upon the fact that, again, we have created this tech hub in the Tulsa area, in Northeast Oklahoma, that's going to lead to so many other things. What Tulsa University is doing when it comes to cyber, and has for a number of years, has now been pulled into, again, this Tulsa Tech Hub. I couldn't be more excited about the companies that are going to be birthed and grow, and the jobs that are going to be able to be realized from that Tech Hub designation. Again, you hear Tech Hub, you hear all the buzzwords. Please hear me on this. I hear those things too. This is hundreds, tens of millions of dollars that are going to be able to be invested now in this. There's hundreds and hundreds of entrepreneurs that are already moving to the Tulsa area because of the incentives off of that tech hub. It's real. It's not just buzzwords anymore. Everybody wants to be a tech hub. Tulsa's actually been able to do it, and they've got the federal recognition from it. And again, I think it's going to lead to a whole lot for Owasso and again for Northeast Oklahoma moving forward. So we talk about, again, the migration. We talk about, again, those are just three of many industries that are growing. Just don't have the time to get into the 5 or 6 other industries that I can go on and on about. But the workforce challenges that we have in the state of Oklahoma, but by the way, they're not specific to Oklahoma. When those companies come calling, when I sit around the table with higher ed and career tech and local officials in our chambers, they're going to ask certainly about tax structure. They're going to ask, tell me about your public schools. And they're going to ask about workforce. Do you have people in Owasso? Do you have people in Northeast Oklahoma that I can hire that have skills that meet the demands of these businesses? And every state is going after that young, qualified, skilled talent. We have an advantage with our Oklahoma career tech system because it is better, and it just is. Any site selection firm will tell you that. It's us in Georgia. Have 2 of the best career tech systems in the entire country. So we're on another top 10 list when it comes to our technical college training facilities that we have around the state. So if we have this system, and we know we can tool, we can train people quickly, get them a certificate, put them right to work, then we need to double down on it. And the career tech superintendent just yesterday and today had budget hearings in front of our state house and state senators and said, listen, things are good, we've never been more popular, but I'm here asking for an increase in the Oklahoma career tech budget because we have an 11,000 person waiting list. What does that mean? That means that's 11,000 kids and working adults, maybe someone that wants to change a career, that are being turned away by a Oklahoma career tech center because they're full, because they don't have enough teachers, and we need another classroom. The career tech superintendent was able to get that down to about 7,500. So we put about 30,000 kids and working adults through a tech center last year. Good number. But we turned away about 11,000 last year. We're going to be able to get that number down to about 7,500 without asking for more money. But they're asking for about another $20 million to break up that waiting list. So I'm able to say, hey, listen, for $20 more million, we're able to put 7,500 more skilled labor into the workforce. I would say that's a good deal. But those are the kind of conversations that you need to be having with your state reps and state senators right now. I would also say a further investment in K through 12 and higher ed needs to be done as well. Because again, if you want to ask me, what do companies talk about? Existing companies in Oklahoma and companies looking to relocate. It revolves around education and workforce. They go hand in hand. And if you want to know where we should be investing some of these dollars that we have, because we do have money in rainy day funds today, it's going to be in those areas. And it's going to be targeted investments and incentives when it comes to these industries that are growing as well. That would be my opinion, and that is what I'm delivering across the state of Oklahoma and to our legislative bodies. We've got 700,000 kids sitting in our public schools and, again, our private options around the state of Oklahoma. That's the future workforce of the state of Oklahoma. And if I don't have enough teachers, if I have disciplinary issues, if I don't have teacher aides in those classrooms, if I'm turning away kids at career tech, those are problems that have to be addressed before other problems. And we should be blunt and honest about that. Because if I don't fix those problems, man, the other problems aren't going to be the deal breaker. Those are the deal breakers. As I was talking to our superintendent, that's what keeps me up at night, is not having enough teachers. And yes, her as well. I want choice, I want options, absolutely. But we've got to make sure that, again, the people that are with my kids, I've got 3 at Jinx. I thought I might get a boo there. 3 at Jinx, got 1 going to college next year. I mean, it's the Jesus take the wheel moment in my life, you know. And I see it every day. I mean, I see it every day through the eyes of my kids, and again, they're teachers. And those teachers are you know, arguably with our kids and our grandkids, sometimes more than parents. I mean, you know, they're there 7 or 8 hours a day, for goodness sake. My son's in the robotics club at Jinx, and I swear he's never home, because he's always building robots at Jinx, which I love. But we better know who's in those classrooms and recruit the best and the brightest. And I could get on a soapbox talking about it a long time, folks, because, again, I'm in the room with businesses, more than most people, that are wanting to stay in Oklahoma, and they're begging me to change things. And I got companies wanting to invest hundreds of millions of dollars inside the state of Oklahoma if we change things, or if we do 1 or 2 things. So I'm just telling you, I'm just the messenger in a lot of ways. I'm listening to the experts. I'm listening to the small business owners. I'm listening to the big mega deals as well, of why they want to move to the state of Oklahoma. And that needs to drive, again, policy down at 23rd and Lincoln. And it needs to drive policy at a local level as well, because there's certainly a number of things that we can be doing at a local level as well. I would also say from an affordable housing perspective, so that's where we should be making investments. The other thing that always comes up, a couple areas, child care and affordable housing. Again, your state reps and senators know this, they're right in the middle. There'll be a number of pieces of legislation, I'm sure even this year, addressing some of this. But last session, they made a big step when it came to affordable housing. We passed an Oklahoma Affordable Housing Stability Act. It's going to invest $250 million across the state of Oklahoma. 75% of it has to be spent in rural communities. But it's because of conversations, again, that we've had with cities. And I tell this story all the time. I was talking to leadership Ponca City at the state capitol last session. And I was standing up talking about how great Oklahoma was to all these leaders in Ponca City, talking about how great, you know, our business environment was and how low our unemployment rate was. And they just looked me in the face and said, you know, Lieutenant Governor, that's all great and good, but we can't grow anymore in Ponca City. I said, well, what are you talking about? He goes, well, there's not a home for sale. There's not an apartment complex that is being developed. We have no affordable housing, nor can we beg. We can't beg a developer to come to Ponca City to build that affordable housing subdivision. And, you know, these state reps and state senators hear it all the time as well. And to their credit, they heard enough of this from communities. And by the way, it's not just a rural Oklahoma. We need to build plenty of homes in the Tulsa and Oklahoma City and some of these suburbs around our largest communities as well. If there's not homes available, then those companies are going to look elsewhere. And again, you need to look into, again, the Oklahoma Stability, if you're a developer, okay, because this is an incentive for developers. Because again, we need to incent, again, if a developer's not going to go to Ponca City, how do we get that developer to Ponca City? Because I know Ponca City can grow. But you got to figure out where the pain points are. Why isn't that? It's the same reason why broadband service is still not in a number of areas inside the state of Oklahoma. It's because some of those providers haven't been incentivized to lay that fiber out into the panhandle. Well, guess what? Now they are. Because the state of Oklahoma got about $2 billion from the federal government specifically to lay broadband across the state of Oklahoma, and over 95% of the state is going to have affordable internet access within the next 3 years. Okay? So I'm for incentives where incentives work. Okay? If it's going to incentivize, again, growth in Owasso and help you build more homes, more affordable housing, to partner with our tribes, by the way, because our sovereigns are already doing this, thank goodness. So when we're able to partner up with some of our sovereign nations in this, that helps us leapfrog other cities and other states as well. So affordable housing is a big one. And child care services. We've lost thousands and thousands of child care facilities inside the state of Oklahoma, and this was before COVID. But we are now on a cliff right now. And because of the ARPA dollars that were given to every state, right now, we're literally right in the middle of it right now. There's a number of child care facilities inside the state of Oklahoma and in every state that were propped up with ARPA dollars. And if those child care facilities over the last year and a half, 2 years didn't put a good business plan together to be able to operate after those ARPA dollars run out, then I'm afraid that there's moms and dads that are going to be pulling up to one of those child care facilities to drop their kid off, and it's going to be closed. And I'm trying to wave this flag, and I see some heads nodding in the room. And again, our state reps and our state senators know this. But is that an area where the state should be involved? Well, yes, our DHS licensed every single one of them. But they're out of money. I want you to know, we're out of those ARPA dollars. The monopoly money from the federal government is not flowing anymore. And every community needs to know this, that help, those ARPA dollars are running out. And what are we going to do in communities? So there's a number of communities across the state that are now incentivizing. Again, Oklahoma City's doing this. Incentivizing businesses to set up child care facilities at their businesses if they're able to do it with an incentive. Again, Oklahoma City's a big city. They got a lot of money to do those things. There's a lot of smaller communities that don't have that ability. But every community, and I would say this in Owasso, you need to put a plan together for that. Because this is really affecting certainly working moms, but it's absolutely affecting companies. They'll leave Owasso and they'll go somewhere where there is child care services. Because those business owners know if there is not child care facility somewhere, then I can't hire anybody. And if there's not an affordable housing subdivision close, then they can't hire anybody. And so there's a number of other strains when it comes to workforce. I get it, but those are two that constantly come up. And there's a role there. There's a role there at a city level, there's a role there at a state level, and there's certainly a role for entrepreneurs. If you want to go make a big pile of money, go open an RV resort, because RV sales are an all-time high in this country. Just go open an RV site. I've told people this for 3 or 4 years in the state. Go open a child care facility right next to it. Because we will license you inside the state of Oklahoma right now. If you want to open a child care facility, I know more great business owners inside the state of Oklahoma that are making a very, very good living operating child care facilities. And they're doing such an amazing service for the state of Oklahoma and RV sites as well. I know that's kind of random, but those are a couple areas where you can make a whole lot of money. With that, I want to say this legislative session, moving forward, because we've got about 5 minutes till 1, just give me one of these, Justin. Do you have other things to, is there more of a program, or is it right done and we're out? Okay, all right, so I got 4 or 5 minutes. This legislative session, I do believe, I am optimistic this legislative session when it comes to the partnership between the House, the Senate, the Governor's office. I say that every legislative session that I'm optimistic, because I am. I'm the happy warrior for the state of Oklahoma, pitching the state. And I do believe that this legislative session is going to be a good one. But if you want to know the things that are going to take up a lot of the conversation, tax cuts and taxes in general certainly will be a topic, because the governor that is going to be one of the items that he is going to talk a lot about. There very well could be a special session even before the legislative session. I don't know for a fact if that's going to happen. I'm governor today, and I can tell you I'm not going to call it today, special session. But that very well could happen. The governor wants to cut the personal income tax. There's been a lot of conversation in the state of cutting the sales tax on groceries, the state portion, not the city portion. I know cities are very concerned about that. I get it. I hear it every day. But there will be a conversation when it comes to sales tax on groceries. I don't hear that as much as, again, personal income tax cut, but that is something that will continue to come up in conversations. Which really gets me to this. Where are we going to spend some of these surplus dollars that we have? And again, I'm careful to say surplus, because there's a lot lot of things around the state of Oklahoma that we should do targeted investments in, where that surplus doesn't end up being a surplus much longer. But if you want to have a conversation with your state rep and your state senator and state reps and state senators around the state of Oklahoma today, that's a lot of where the conversation needs to sit. I hear we have a surplus. Where are those dollars going to be spent? Or are some of those dollars going to be returned to the taxpayer? That's all. There's going to be a big conversation about that. If there's a special session that addresses tax cuts before the regular session, then you could argue that actually is going to give the legislature some time to focus on other items. But that is going to take up certainly a lot of this February through May timeframe inside the state. And I want to have that conversation. But I believe we need to have a conversation in Oklahoma about fundamental tax reform. And again, I talked to some local leaders before this meeting about this. We are way too sales tax dependent as a state. We live or die on sales tax. And I realized this when I started campaigning for lieutenant governor. I talked to every city manager and every mayor in the state of Oklahoma who said, listen, give me a Chick-fil-A and a Walmart, and we're good. Because we need sales tax to run our cities, right? Pay for police and fire departments and everything else. And I started thinking, I don't think that is the strategic way to build our communities. I love Chick-fil-A. But is that the right way to be building communities? Because I do believe we're too sales tax dependent. We live or die on, literally live or die on the communities. And Owasso's thriving. Again, 17% growth. But a lot of these communities around you all are not thriving. They're dying on a vine, a lot of them, because they're not creating sales tax revenue. And there's just not a lot of other sources when it comes to that tax structure. Now listen, that's a much bigger conversation, and I got 2 minutes. But what I'm getting at is you need to start having a conversation, if you haven't already, with your leadership. Because at some point, there is going to be a debate, there will be legislation when it comes to fundamental tax reform. I don't know if this legislative session, again, a lot of this is revolving around, again, personal income tax and a few other tax cuts. But I firmly believe moving forward in the state over the next decade, for us to have a real conversation about what the tax structure looks like in the state. Because you got 4 million people in the state. Not all those, we got about a 62% labor participation rate. Which means, not all those 4 million people are paying taxes. I want to get more people here, I want to keep more people here, but what does that tax structure look like to, again, make sure that we are providing those core services with the ability to continue to grow and thrive and succeed? And our tribes and our sovereigns have to play a role in this. I'll end on that, because yes, the other headlines, the other issues, certainly that you hear about and will hear about during legislative session, that it's really every month out of the year, is the relationship, again, between the state of Oklahoma and our 39 sovereigns. There's nothing I'm more proud of when I go outside the state boundaries, when I go to another conference in another state, and I'm able to stand up in front of a place. I'm Matt Pinnell. I'm the Lieutenant Governor of the state of Oklahoma, home of 39 federally recognized sovereign nations. And I just pause. And I have people in the audience, like their eyes get as big as saucers, like, well, hold on, what? Oklahoma has what? It is a differentiator for us, folks, our sovereigns. Do we have issues that, of course, we need to? Of course we do. And we will always have issues that we have to address and work with our sovereigns. But our sovereigns are here, and our sovereigns are never leaving. And the state of Oklahoma, moving forward in the state, we have to have a partnership with those 39 sovereigns. We have to have a working relationship with our 39 sovereigns because, again, not only are they a differentiator, but we can leapfrog other cities that are wanting our jobs and wanting those same companies. I could talk to you about a number of examples from film and music to, again, major deal flow that we've been able to lock down inside the state because we do have that partnership. Cherokee Nation, one of them obviously here in this part of the state. When we can work with them, when we can partner with them, a city, a state, a sovereign, we don't lose a lot of those deals. And any state has to play to their strengths. Any state has to play to their strengths. So let's not try to be something that we're not. I don't want to be Iowa. I don't want to be, God bless their hearts, I certainly don't want to be Kansas. Okay? And if you're from Kansas, I only halfway apologize for that joke. Okay? I'm tired of beating up on Texas. I kind of beaten up on Kansas. No one has 39 sovereign nations inside their one state. Nobody. Not even close. Got a lot of other states that have some sovereign, sure, and there's a working relationship. No one's even close to Oklahoma. It is our brand. It's a big part of who we are. It is who we are, and we should partner with them for that deal flow to make the kind of state that we want to make. Okay? That's me, your Lieutenant Governor, saying that. And I'll continue to deliver that message. It does not mean it's always going to be rainbows and unicorns. The tribes don't think that, and we don't think that. But there should be a working relationship, for goodness sakes. When it comes to what is great for the state of Oklahoma, not just what is okay, because I'm tired of saying Oklahoma is okay. What is great for the state of Oklahoma? How do we get more, again, taxpayers here? Do we keep more of a homegrown town so that we can truly can be the greatest place, the greatest state to live, work, and raise a family? I believe we're there. We're getting there. The momentum is there. I talked about the net migration statistics. I talked about the industry growth that we're seeing. Man, if we can rally. If we can rally together, 77 counties strong, federal government, state government, sovereign nations, I don't believe there's anything that can stop us over the next decade with the growth that we want if we do it that way. And I'll always partner with the city of Owasso. So thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here today. Let's continue to do it the right way, and I know Owasso will lead the way in that effort. God bless each and every one. Thank you.
Lieutenant Governor, I know I am grateful that you are out there on behalf of Oklahomans every single day, talking about how great our state is and encouraging people to not only come here, but for people to stay here as well. So thank you so much. Thanks for making time on your calendar for us. I really appreciate that. And thank you to our sponsors for making today happen. And thank you to all of you, guests in the room, for being here today. I hope you had a great meal, great conversation. Come back again. We have lots of things going on. Look for those emails and such. We really appreciate you, and have a great day.